Hi, everybody, and welcome to our new podcast, What is Critical Theory? My name is Dr. Tristan Cabello, and I'm the Associate Director for the Master of Liberal Arts at the Johns Hopkins University. And I also teach a core course entitled Critical Theory every year. This course is very popular among our students in the MLA program, but every year, current and prospective students are asking me the same questions. What is critical theory, and how can this help me? Now, there's no easy way to answer that. I know how critical theory has helped me and my research, but everybody thinks differently. So, this year, with my students, we have decided to record a podcast on the course so you can get a wide variety of perspectives and opinions before you decide to take the course or join the program. Today, I am joined by Leanna Darling, a first year MLA student. Hi, Leanna, it's good to see you.
Hi, Tristan. Good to be here.
So, the first question that I have for you, Liana, is very simple and straightforward. As I was mentioning in the introduction, there are many definitions of critical theory. What is your own personal definition?
Well, my sense is that critical theory or critical theories critique the status quo. They ask questions about the dominant narratives that kind of structure our realities. And then they're also lenses that allow us to really hone in on certain elements, often elements of society, voices in society that are obscured in those dominant narratives. And
Mhm.
also, in going so deep, then we can kind of peel back some layers and get a glimpse of the inner workings of society for just a much deeper understanding.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, how has critical theory changed your perspective on the liberal arts, on your research, on the world around you?
Well, when I think about that, I kind of like to use the analogy of humans as fish in a fishbowl. If you haven't heard that before, fish swim around all day, and every aspect of their life
Yeah,
is dictated by the water or by the bowl. And many fish swim in their circles, and that's that. They will never have an understanding of temperature or viscosity or the chemical makeup of water or
yeah,
anything that affects them. They may be affected by the bowl per se and the boundaries, but they just go through life without thinking about it. And I think lots of humans do this too, is that we swim through our own context and we can go blindly and not really understand anything until potentially we run up into that bowl, into those boundaries. But even then we might not know why. Why does that glass exist? What is that
yeah, yeah,
glass?
yeah.
And so critical theory for me makes me more aware of this context, this water that I'm swimming through.
Yeah, thank you
So
so much for this analogy. That makes a lot of sense. Sorry,
yeah,
I
no
cut you off.
problem. No, I was
Um,
also just going to say, like with relation to the liberal arts specifically,
yeah.
I was really drawn to the liberal arts because of its breadth.
Hmm.
I really like, the multiplicity of different disciplines, and that was really appealing. But what's
Hmm.
kind of new to me is just seeing the depth of scholarship underneath.
Yeah.
So those are those theoretical underpinnings. So
Hmm.
my little intro to critical theory has kind of like allowed me to look under the cover and see, oh, okay, this is what undergirds it all, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, we are exploring, as you mentioned earlier, many different theories, right? It's really in the plural here. Can you give one theory that really stuck with you, that really forced you to interrogate, dominant narrative, system of powers, etc., etc.?
Sure. I might briefly mention queer theory because
Yeah.
that is one that shook me. I mean, I've lived most of my life within the dominant narratives around gender and sexuality, so it was completely new to me, and it felt a little bit like the ground under my feet was shifting the
Mhm.
more I learned. And so basically, there's this idea within queer theory that identities are very fluid, and so
Yeah.
they are changeable and they are changing all the time because of changeable and changing discourses in society.
Hmm.
And so this sort of shift and flux, not only could it be a little bit disorienting, but it was just like, wow, this is out there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was also very hopeful.
Yeah.
I particularly liked that module also because we had looked at feminist theory earlier in the course. And in the feminist theory module, we read Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex.
Hmm.
And in that book, she asks, "What is woman?" And it seems like such an obvious question, but of course it's not. And she wrote 800 pages on it, and we're still debating it.
Yeah.
But then you take that same question and you put it under the lens of queer theory, and all of a sudden it's like a prism where all the colors come out. Or you could think of it more like a magnifying glass, letting through a bit of sunlight, and then setting that question on fire, just kind
Yeah.
of blowing it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm at this point where all these paradigms that I've held onto for so many decades are kind of buckling and breaking. I haven't reformed them yet. I feel like I need to read more Beauvoir. I need to read more Judith Butler, who was
Yeah.
the primary theorist we read for the queer theory unit,
Yeah.
and probably have a second, third, or maybe fourth pass before I can start putting this all together.
Yeah.
But yes, if I had to pick one theory,
Yeah.
it was queer theory for me.
And you're absolutely right here, Lena. In the course, I mean, we explore, I think, 14 theories. And of course, there's so much we can do in 15 weeks. And so for every theory, we only study one or two authors. And there are many, many others, of course, that you can read. And so that leads me to the other question I have for you. At the end of the course, I ask you to choose a theory on your own, something that you want to study on your own. What did you choose and why?
Yeah, I chose Cleodynamics, and
Yeah.
I chose that because the little bit I knew about it was really intriguing. So first of all, it's in a nutshell, it's kind of the study of historical dynamics, so change over time, and it primarily focuses on the rise and fall of empires. And it looks at large data sets collected by historians and archaeologists and other people who work in history, and does quantitative analysis. And that is so far out of my realm that I wanted a little bit of exposure to it. On top of that,
Yeah.
though, theorists in that field, they do not shy away from trying to determine historical laws and from trying to forecast the future.
Yeah.
And that is super interesting and super
Yeah.
appealing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also I felt so uncomfortable and problematic just dealing with those ideas. It's very different from past academic training that I've
Yeah.
had.
Of
So
course.
I had to fight, internally about these questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So to summarize here, really, what would you tell a prospective or a current student in the MLA program about critical theory? Why is it important to study it?
Well, when I think about that question, my mind goes to an interview that I just listened to for the current course I'm taking called "What Is History," and it's a an interview with Joan W. Scott. So
Mm.
she's a new social historian, and she was talking about how any aspiring thinker, so an aspiring scholar in any field, but particularly with history, you absolutely need theory, because without
Yeah.
it, you may be able to describe the world around you, but you won't be able to actually uncover what's really going on. So
Of
you
course.
won't have any sort of true understanding.
Mhm.
And I think she's probably right about that. I want to understand the world, so I need critical theory, a
Yeah.
theoretical background, and so do all students, really.
Absolutely. Leanna, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm sure that this conversation was very helpful, very inspiring for our students and to everybody who's watching and listening. Stay tuned for our next episode. It's coming up in 2 weeks. Thank you, Leanna.
Thank you.